Seth Kahan, the founder of Visionary Leadership.
Can you tell me a little bit about your mental health journey?
Sure. So my mental health journey started when I was 10 years old. I'm 65 today, so that was 55 years ago when my mother developed schizophrenia. I was very close to my mother, and it was a real shock and it was traumatic for me because I did not know what was going on. And in fact, my whole family didn't know what was going on for a very long time. It was in 1969, and the understanding of schizophrenia was very different then than it is today. And so for me, it was knowing that something was wrong with my mother and the anxiety that that produced in me. And then the subsequent years as my father tried to figure out how to get the right kind of care for my mother. And eventually I left home. My family fell apart. I moved out of the house when I was 16. And I think that was really the beginning of my own mental health journey.
Yeah, how did that all happen to make you create your own organization?
Well, so let's see. One of the roles that I play right now, I'm a consultant and I help organizations lead grand challenges. And these are big, bold goals that take on socially intractable problems. And for the last 4 years, I have been the lead of Stop Stigma Together, which anyone can learn about by going to stopstigmatogether.org. And the mission of Stop Stigma Together is to eliminate the bias and prejudice around mental health and substance use disorders on a national scale. So I'm going to go back to when I was 10 and come
Yeah.
back to Stop Stigma Together. I moved out of the house when I was 16 for a really long time, about 15 years. I went to college. I was unsupervised by adults. And then in my 30s, I really started to reflect on what had happened and to think about my own relationship with my mother and my family. And in my 40s, I was diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder that I'm sure came out of the experience of my childhood. And I began treatment for that, which I'm still under today. And in my opinion, it's successful treatment. So that's been 25 years. Um, I had done many grand challenges when I met Dr. Mark Rappaport, who is the CEO of the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. And he wanted to eliminate the stigma around mental health and substance use disorders on a national scale. And so I worked with him for quite a while pro bono, sharing the knowledge and expertise I had from other grand challenges. And then he asked me if I'd be interested in leading this initiative. And normally I don't lead a grand challenge. I support a CEO who leads one. But in this case, because of my own personal experience, I said yes. I was not a mental health service provider. I didn't have mental health expertise. I just had my own journey. But that has changed now because over the last 4 years, I've worked with thousands of people who are mental health service providers, researchers, people with lived experience like myself, although in many different diagnoses, not just the one I have. And I've been reading books about it. So now I feel that I've learned quite a bit around mental health. I'm still leading the Grand Challenge, and it is one of the most personally rewarding activities I have ever done. And I think one of the reasons is because of how I got started myself and my own journey.
I like what you said that having lived experiences with researchers and all different people who are helping the mental health field, how important is it to hear real voices in this fight to stop the stigma?
It's extremely important. The people who have lived experience form in many ways the anchor or the base of the work that we're doing because the whole motivation for fighting stigma is to stop suffering and make sure that people are able to get treatment who deserve it. And bias keeps us from getting that treatment. It keeps employers from knowing how to support people who have mental health challenges in the workplace. It keeps researchers from getting funding. It even keeps politicians from crafting laws that are free of stigma. And the voices of people with lived experience are the ones that really, bring a sense of authenticity and guidance to the work that is irreplaceable.
And I was looking at the website, and there's a lot of people and big nonprofits a part of this mission. What is it like working with people with a similar mission?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, again, this work has been the most personally rewarding for me that I've ever experienced. And it's for several reasons. One is that the people who are attracted to the mental health world tend to be people who are empathetic and compassionate. And that extends into their day-to-day work practices. And so it's a warm environment to be operating in. The other is that there are so many people here that have lived experience that the recognition of the value of the work and the vulnerability that people share is significant. People talk about their own struggles. For example, I can share with any one of my coworkers what I've already shared with you, and it's not seen as too much information or out of place. It's recognized as a real asset in the work. So it's wonderful to work with people who are in this field, and it's also especially important to work with people who have lived experience. And I'll just say that, one of the most powerful memories I have of the early days of this was talking to Arthur Evans, who is the CEO of the American Psychological Association. And I was asking him if he would participate as a partner. And he said he would as long as two conditions were met. The first is that we see mental health challenges as a continuum that people move along every day. So he said, just like if you go have a Big Mac for lunch and you lay around the house and watch TV all day, when the evening rolls around, you don't feel so good. On the other hand, if you have a healthy meal and you get up and go for a long walk, at the end of the day, you feel great. He said, well, the same thing is true about mental health. Something bad can happen in your life. Sometimes a confluence, many bad things can happen simultaneously, and you can be depressed and anxious. Or you can have a really up day where everybody's supporting you and you're feeling really good. And he said, so you have to understand that we move along this continuum all the time, moment to moment. It's not like we're just in one spot and we stay there. And the second thing he said is that this has to be about us and not about them. And in other words, we all have mental health and we all slide up and down that continuum. Some of us have diseases that are, severe mental challenges. Some of us have milder anxiety or depression that is more day to day. But that doesn't mean that this is about them, someone else. It's really something that everyone faces and experiences. And I really agreed with that. I still remember him saying that, and I carry that in my heart. I feel like that's really important what he said.
And isn't empathy an important trait for all leaders?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. They need to understand, they need to be able to put themselves in the shoes of the people that they're supporting, whether it's their customers or their employees or their partners. Yes.
What is it like for you to help others on all the levels?
Well, it's complicated, so I have to kind of always be, entering things with a spirit of I'm going to learn, and I need help because it's hard to juggle everything. And I do have excellent help. We have a wonderful team of people, um, and I'm always hit with something new. I remember one of the first things I got hit with is that when I would tell the story about my mother, I used to say that she was a schizophrenic. And someone said, oh, no, no, that's not the right way. Think of her as a person with schizophrenia. She's a person first, and the disease is second. And that rearranged the inside of my head because I thought of her as someone who had something damaging about her mind. And then I began to think of her as a human being who I love and care about deeply, who had a mental disease and actually got treatment for it. The last 8 years of her life, she was almost completely better because she got some good medication. So, that's an example of learning that happened right away. And that learning hasn't stopped. I'm always learning about new treatments, new diagnoses, new groups of people who care, new support, and it's just wonderful.
And this morning I was reading your blog, which is very good, but you talked about traveling and your wife being there. Can you tell me some of the things you've learned from her?
From my wife,
Yeah.
yeah, I've learned a great deal. She's my biggest strategy partner. So I've been in business self-employed for about 23 years now. And whenever I have a really big problem or challenge, she's the first person I go to. She also is an award-winning musician and performance artist. And her last album received a major award for a song called Beauty in the Broken. And I can give you a link to that so
Yeah.
that you and your listeners could listen to that song. It's about mental health challenges. And she was recognized by the Mid-Atlantic Song Contest. She got the second place for the whole contest
Oh, wow.
um, for that song, and it's a beautiful song. Um, and there are other songs that she's written that are about mental health challenges that are equally beautiful.
So, what are some of the things you do to help your own mental health?
Oh boy, I have so many things that I do to help my mental health. And I mean, I'm laughing. I do them because they work
Yeah.
and they become part of my life. Every morning, I wake up earlier than the rest of my family, so I have some alone time. And I start with stretching. I do a half-hour stretching routine, and I listen to devotional music. I'm a practicing Hindu, so I the music I listen to is primarily Indian music. And then I meditate for half an hour, and then I walk my dog for half an hour. And those three things start almost every day for me, and I love that. And then I also walk my dog for an evening for half an hour. So that 1 hour of exercise I'm getting every day. And exercise has probably been the biggest way that I have found to lower my anxiety. And I also love my dog a lot. So spending that time with her is really, it's important to me. It's spiritually sustaining and helps me. I go to the gym often, at least 4 times a week, because that really helps me to feel like I'm present, I'm alert, and lowers my anxiety. I read books. I study books a lot. I read books about mental health. I read books about Hinduism, different texts. My friends are very important to me. I have a handful of very close personal friends that I see almost every week, people that I can talk about anything with, including my mental health challenges. And the people I work with are very important to me because I have a very caring relationship with them. And again, I can talk to them about mental health challenges if I'm having them. So those are some of the things that I do to take care of myself.
And last year, I actually saw you speak at a panel. And how does talking with others and getting your voice out there help your mission?
Oh, it's one of the primary ways. There's two big ways I think that, well, maybe I should say in the age of the internet, there's really three big ways that you get your message out there. One is through speaking. So that's like at a live panel, like what you saw. And the second I would say is a derivation of that, but that's video, because video is a form of speaking. But today you can get video anywhere, everywhere, all the time in an instant. And of course, it didn't used to be like that. So that's become a primary way. And then the third is writing. So blogs or books and magazines and things like that. And those are the big ways to get the message out there. So speaking is a really important part of that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of video. I think that's one of the best mediums to get the voice out there.
Me too. I love watching videos, and a lot of times if I'm feeling down, I'll go looking for inspirational videos. And sometimes that's a video that's about inspiration, like somebody might be talking about something that's uplifting. Sometimes it's a video that watching it is inspiring. So like I love my dog. I train dogs. I'm a big fan of German Shepherds, but I love all dogs. So watching a dog training video or a dog's playing or dogs hiking or dogs doing almost anything is something that inspires me and it lifts me up. So if I'm feeling a little down, I might take 5 minutes and just watch some dog videos on YouTube. So those are some of the ways videos really help me out.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
I would say the first thing is to find someone to talk to. I think it's really important that you not carry it alone. And I think no matter what you're feeling, anything from mild anxiety all the way up to suicidal thoughts, there are a lot of people out there who have also felt it and want to be by your side when you're feeling them. And we recognize that these are not trivial, they're not incidental, they're not stupid. They are deep, powerful feelings and thoughts. And as soon as you begin to tell someone else about it, it starts to diminish the power of it. You're not carrying it alone. And oftentimes people can provide resources to you. And I think resources, I believe in support big time. So talking to someone is the first level of support, but then you might need additional support. For example, I take medication for my anxiety and it really works. And that's why I've been on it for 25 years. Um, but there are other kinds of resources as well. You might just need a book to read or hear someone else's story or join a group where you can talk with others. Or you might need to see a doctor. Maybe you haven't ever seen a doctor about what you're facing. And it might be helpful and that all of that starts with telling another person and allowing that person to come into your life and be a support to you.
Have you seen, just talking about mental health, the stigma lessening a little bit?
It depends. It's lessening in some places and increasing in others. We know right now, because of the Shatterproof Addiction Stigma Index, that addiction stigma is climbing in this country. But I also know from the work that I'm doing with the Ad Council and the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, we have two campaigns that are in process that I have the opportunity to monitor and learn about. The Ad Council is doing Love Your Mind. And by the way, you can go to loveyourmindtoday.org and get all their resources, which includes help if you're feeling like you're having a challenging experience. We know from the statistics that it's very effective, and we can see the stigma start to drop. The same thing is true with Mental Health Care Works, which is the tagline for the American Psychiatric Association Foundation's campaign. And you can go to mentalhealthcareworks.org and learn more about those. So we see the data points that the people who are exposed to these are lessening in stigma. But we also know that the country's under a lot of stress right now for many different reasons, and that increases the anxiety and depression and symptoms that people are experiencing, and sometimes that can increase the stigma of the people around them. So I think that the work we're doing is decreasing stigma, but I think we're in an environment where it is also increasing, and so we see both of those.
What is it like working with the ad council?
It's thrilling. I have known about the Ad Council through Rosie the Riveter and Smokey the Bear.
Right.
Rosie the Riveter is the woman with the kerchief on her head, and she's got her arm up like this. And this phrase is, "We can do it." And it came out of World War II when women went to work in factories to support the warfighter overseas. And that was kind of an iconic picture that's just part of my life growing up. I mean, I was born long after World War II, but it was just part of my life. And then because I'm a camper, Smokey the Bear was everywhere.
Yeah.
And both of those were created by the Ad Council. So when we had a chance to work with the Ad Council, I was beyond thrilled. And they have given me a front row seat to watch campaigns be developed. It's been very exciting. I saw a number of campaigns that did not succeed in the focus groups, that fell flat. But then they created one that was specifically designed for young African American men and Latinos. And it was so thrilling to see that every demographic group responded to it, not just young African American and Latino men. It was, older white people, young LGBTQ kids, other cultures. They all responded to this idea of love your mind. And that was just so exciting. It was really neat. And then when the commercials, the PSA started rolling out over TV and the internet, it was always exciting to see the Huntsville Mental Health Institute right at the end of the commercial, but also to recognize that these were in fact being shared publicly and to start to see the positive message everywhere.
Where do you want to see your message in the next 3 to 5 years?
I want to see it everywhere. We're working with the major mental health organizations. We're working with medium-sized organizations, but I want this to become something that the average American just takes for granted, the same way we take Smokey the Bear for granted. It's just, or the fact that we have to put on seatbelts, right? Nobody fights that anymore. When I was a kid, people were upset about it, didn't want to wear them. Now it's just normal life. And so many people are protected from death or injury as a result of having it. Well, I would like everyone who's feeling mental challenges to be able to just immediately go get support and help and not feel like something's wrong with me or this is a character flaw or I'm broken. I would like people to just think, oh, this is just like if you break your arm or you have diabetes, you go to a doctor. If you're feeling depressed or anxious, or you're hearing voices, or you're having mood swings, you go to a doctor and you get help. That's what I would like to see. So I'd like to see the whole country, just imbibing this message and really acting on it.
How can people reach out and learn more?
Well, if they'd like to talk to me, they can write me an email at seth@visionaryleadership.com. And if they'd like to connect with the initiative, you can go to stopstigmatogether.org.